You guys really want to go to Pakistan? Well, we charge a bit of commission. Our commission is always the lowest in the market. AI, I'm sure that AI is just going to be inside your house, like a homemate, living together with you. You're going to speak with him every single day.
Hello and welcome everyone to Digitales. My name is Faizan Sayed, founder and CEO of Indriver, and today I have a guest that is a global citizen. That's the only way I can put it. His name is Roman Ermoshin. He grew up in Moscow. He lived in Hong Kong, worked at Google and Apple, and now is visiting Pakistan. He is the director of Asia Pacific for inDrive, the ride-hailing company that has taken the market by storm. And we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. How are you, Roman, today?
I'm good. Thank you. Nice meeting you this morning, Faisal. And
thank you for coming to our show.
Thank you.
So you got in yesterday.
Right. Yeah.
Second trip, you said, to Pakistan.
Yeah, that's my second trip. First time I've been to Islamabad this summer, and then we went to a nice place, city of Murray.
Murray is beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. To be honest, my impression about Pakistan at the beginning, before I came in here, was like, oh, that's an unsafe country. I have to be very cautious inside there. And everyone who was like, are you traveling to Pakistan? Oh, man. So,
really?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, and then, you know, Murray was beautiful. Islamabad, very structured, very clean, very nice. And I was like, guys, this is underestimated place. You have to do something about your global image.
You have to do something about that. So your perception changed on Pakistan?
Totally changed.
How many days were you in Islamabad the last time?
I've spent like a week there.
That's a fair amount.
Yeah, and now I'm coming here to Karachi, and that was, I didn't have any concern coming in here.
Right.
I just landed from Bangkok, direct flight, by the way.
Yeah,
and then went out. All right. Yeah, air pollution is still noticeable, but all the rest is like, you feel comfortable.
And you attended a conference, I believe, yesterday.
Right. Yeah, I attended this disruption event.
Yes.
And that was, you know, I've got so many people coming to me, and they were so passionate and so hungry for development, for some great ideas. I was so much impressed with the population here.
What do you think? So your perception of this market, it's unsafe market. It's obviously a large population. That's why you guys brought the business here. But walk me through how you did the business process in Pakistan, or how you look at Pakistan as a business, because I'd love to understand the perspective of a foreigner or a foreign business looking to enter at a time when Pakistan is going through significant challenges.
Right. There are certain things to discuss here. First of all, if you are, like we are, an American company, it's always a question about global compliance and everything. Do you guys really want to go to Pakistan? This is something that could potentially create a trouble for you in the future, for investors, you know, any kind of things related to, you know what. And then, okay, the first impression is like you get out of the airport, you see here in Karachi, you see McDonald's, and then you see the Shell gas station. It tells you, all right, this guy's here. That means it's not that bad from the compliance perspective and US perspective, you know. That's the first thing. Yeah, we looked at that when we entered the market, to be honest.
So compliance is a big issue.
It's a big thing.
When you say compliance, what do you mean by compliance?
I mean that investors who look into the companies like us, they would love to invest in the safe economies, right? It's not only safe from the political and economic standpoint, but also from the religious sanctions, everything. You know, so they want to make sure that their money's safe. And if they see that Pakistan is one of the top countries, you know, we operate, then it could be questionable. But now I think the perception started to change. And so it's important for the global business to see that there are other global companies operating here. Now, again, that's what I was talking yesterday at the conference, that the trend has changed a lot now. Before, when we started the business 10 years ago, that was more about globalization. We're the global company, you know, we're moving everywhere with our global standards, whatever. Now it's a different thing, you know, just with the conflicts everywhere, with the sanctions applied everywhere, you know, all the compliance things as well. It's pretty hard to do the international business with one standard, let's say the US standard. So you have to adjust to the regional practices. And now, you know, in Pakistan, I see that it becomes one of the biggest players together with the regional Saudi Arabia, UAE, Oman, and all the regional things. So my feeling is that in the pretty reasonable future, we're gonna see very heavy regionalization, that one global company would not be able to just operate as a global company. You have to decentralize heavily.
And that seems to be the trend right now that's taking place. So you looked at compliance, you looked at how safe is your money, you looked at do other businesses, global business operate out of Pakistan. What about from a let's say a GDP per capita perspective? Because Pakistan is not where you create value, you create volume.
Right.
Right? So does that become a challenge? Because the rides here are probably the cheapest rides outside of maybe Cairo, right? Or maybe they're the same roughly.
Yeah.
How does that work for you from a profitability standpoint?
Well, frankly, if you look at Asia Pacific overall, the average check is pretty low, everywhere. Indonesia, very low. Obviously, India is very low. Here in Pakistan, it's close to $2.
The average ticket is $2.
Yeah, to something.
Which is, right.
And now the currency has devaluated, so it's even less. And the other reason why the average check is that low in ride hailing, because there are so many bike rides, and the check there is obviously less expensive. For us, that was how we normally start. We come to the market with no commission. We just do the digital test. We see how the population reacts to the product. And then, all right, if it works well, then we start developing it. And the reaction to us was perfect. I think at that time, there was just one player here in the market. And we came with this uniqueness we have with haggling. Yeah, we can provide the option for the driver and passenger to bargain between each other. And that was very well accepted by the local guys. They started to download the app, drivers started to come to our offices, and we pretty, like in half a year, we covered the whole country, and we started to grow very, very fast. And now I would say that we are the market leader here.
Wow, you're the market leader in literally in less than 2 years.
Yeah.
So you beat out Careem, you beat out Uber, and Careem used to be at the top.
Well, I think they are in some places at the top still, and frankly, I appreciate them. It's a great product. It's an ecosystem already. For us, we are in a bit different kind of shape or form, because we are still in the ride hailing only. We have other verticals, right? It's mobility, but we do not go into finance, into other places where Careem goes.
Food delivery.
Yeah, food delivery, we don't have it. So with Careem, we compete, but in just one area. Yeah, in ride hailing, I think we are now taking the #1 place in many areas of Pakistan.
Well, the thing is, you offered the one thing that people love to do in this country. It's haggle.
Yeah.
And your app allows that. None of the other apps allow that. I think they're starting that now with some of the other ones. They're kind of, piggybacking off what you guys do.
Yeah, haggling is quite interesting here, because actually we give the freedom of choice, freedom of negotiation. It's like, this is a marketplace. This is a technology which connects driver and passenger. And then two people decide between each other how much they pay, who gets where. And, it's just the technology in the hands of people to negotiate a ride. And
so if they're haggling, and they haggle, let's say, a price of $1, I'm just making this up, how do you make your money?
Well, we charge a bit of commission. Our commission is always the lowest in the market.
And you charge the commission from the driver or the passenger?
From the driver. Passenger doesn't pay anything to us. We charge up to 10% from the driver.
Right.
And then, that's how we make money. It's not that a big burden for driver, but for us, it gives us the opportunity to develop the product, have the support team, make a technology happen. And the other thing where we succeeded, we started with cabs, right? And then we added bikes, then we added auto rickshaws, and that was the combination of different types of transport around the city, and that was perfect mobility solution.
How many rides do you do per day?
Well, thousands, and
I heard it's 60,000. The number is that close?
I would say in Karachi it's twice more.
Karachi's twice that, 120,000 rides a day?
Kind of.
Wow, that's pretty good. And so this is bikes, rickshaws, cars, everything.
It's all together.
Interesting.
There's pretty good numbers for us. The average check is low. So comparing to the other markets, you can make 10 times less number of flights but get the same amount of money. But for us here in Pakistan, we just provide the solution for people to move around for a reasonable price. We give them the technology, and we have quite a big user base. So potentially in the future, we can kind of monetize them with the other products which we bring to the market.
Interesting. And what threats do you see to the business in the next 2 years?
Well, here in Pakistan, my biggest concern, to be honest, about the climate change now, because we had it last year, right, when there were huge floods here in Pakistan. And then obviously mobility business dropped down for quite a significant time. I think for a month that was down, and then, the city starting to recover. And what I see in the news and everywhere, in the analytics, that it's gonna now repeat every 3, 4, 6 years, and then even more often if we don't do anything with the climate, and we cannot do it in a very short term, right? So that's a big threat, just outside, right, which we cannot control. The other thing is probably politics. Next year you're going to have elections, right? Normally during the elections there are some protests, some road closures. It impacts the business, but at least we can predict that. We know that it's going to happen in Q1, so we can kind of
we're hoping it
happens. Yeah. So that's the thing.
We can't say the word no because it's a hope.
True. Yeah, I agree.
But tell me this, climate change, I'm glad you touched on this. You're in the mobility business.
Right.
Your business directly impacts the climate, right? Because everything that you mentioned, rickshaws, bikes, whatever, right, that is being used to transport is contributing to smog, is contributing to pollution, and so on. There was a recent report that showed that Lahore is one of the top 5 most smoggiest cities in the world. I think after New Delhi Lahore was second, if I remember correctly. And Karachi was top 6. How does a mobility business make a positive contribution to, let's say, this issue while still building and scaling its business? Have you guys thought of that?
Yeah, we are always thinking about that. We have this in our agenda, and as a global company, we're having this ESG strategy behind us. That's all good to talk about that, but in reality, just in easy words. First, what we think, and it's been proven by a number of sources already, that ride-hailing helps to reduce the number of cars used in the market. Yeah, because if you have your own car, you use it in average like 2-3 hours a day. Yeah, the average ride-hailing car is 8 to 10 hours per day on the way. Yeah, so it just reduces the number of cars, and one car is used more. Oh, that's one thing. The other thing is now about the electric vehicles, right? So we've got quite a lot e-bikes already, and some electric cars are starting to come. And what we're now thinking to get into partnership with the local producers and dealers of cars to provide special programs for our drivers, like leasing programs, discounts for them to switch, to change from the standard, just a regular car to the electric one. So that's the other one, and we already have quite a lot of them moving around. And then the new technology, it's a big discussion now how it all gonna develop, because that air pollution is caused by the traffic. Traffic is pretty bad. What's gonna be next? Flying cars, whatever, and it's all about the technology. And we also have to contribute. Me personally, I have to participate in a number of discussions about that. How do you guys see the future of mobility? And frankly, we see like 3 things that gonna happen. First, electric. Yeah. Second, autonomous. Without the driver inside, and the third one is flying. It's not even flying, it's like convertible, so it goes, and then once it needs to fly, it just starts flying. And when I was coming to here, I was on a flight from Bangkok to Karachi. I was thinking, all right, I'm on a plane. Nobody cares if this plane's gonna drop down, and there are thousands of planes in the sky at the moment. The same is gonna be with the cars. Probably at the beginning we're gonna have cars flying above the rivers, so there are no people beneath them, right? Then the next maybe above the highways, and then people gonna get used to that, and we're gonna see a lot of flying cars, electric ones, probably without the drivers, and it's gonna reduce the pollution. But the matter now is how fast we do that, right? Because now I'm traveling this morning from my hotel to here, the smog is so bad.
Yes,
we need to do, the changes now. Yeah, the time is now.
Right.
But everything, again, from the government and legal standpoint, it's not that fast, to be honest.
It takes a long
They
time.
have to control it, right? But at
Yeah.
the same time, they have to move faster. That's my concern, that we could be a bit late and people gonna suffer that.
So I have two further questions on this. So on the mobility side, I'll come back to autonomous in a second. Why would you support rickshaws when you know that the two-stroke engine is probably the most polluting engine? Why support that on the app? Because just having that off, and I get it, like you want the rides and that is a cheaper method of transport and so on, and it adds a tick to your metric. But at the same time, you're also supporting a method of transportation that is very polluting. You know, a normal rickshaw actually has a very inefficient internal combustion engine. So why support that? Why not create an alternative and say, you know what, we will find you a solution, and here's that solution.
Yeah, rickshaws and bike type of transport, they started to grow very fast after the pandemic.
Right.
Because first, at that time, we faced very high inflation and currency depreciation, right?
Right.
And then people came back from the quarantine, and they started to travel inside the city, and that was a very heavy request, because just we had cabs at the beginning. Yeah, we were focused on cabs because the average check is higher, the service quality is better, and then people started to come to us, not only here but also in the other countries. Like, guys, we have now less money to spend because the inflation is too bad. We have to move more because now we're back from COVID and we need cheaper means of transportation. So please give us, or otherwise we take it ourselves.
Right.
So if we don't give them the technology, they just gonna still,
Yeah.
find it on the road. So for us, it's better to control it, otherwise just to stay away from it and see it as just a gray market.
Right.
So that's the thing. And the other thing is now that we see that electric rickshaws are coming up everywhere in the world.
Right.
It's a smaller car, easy maintains,
Yeah.
right? And it's gonna develop for sure. Yeah, countries like here, where the climate is not too bad. I mean, it's not cold, it's not
Right.
rainy here. E-rickshaw is gonna happen. But what we need to do now, as I said again, do some programs for drivers so they can change from the old one to the new one. And
Right.
here, this is where we need the government support to give some subsidy to them so they can.
For the e-rickshaws.
Yeah, for the e-rickshaws. Yeah, because the old ones are very old school then.
What about, I mean, even with the old ones, I mean, it's all about maintenance, right? So if you maintain your vehicle, you can basically run it much more efficiently, less pollution. Does inDrive provide drivers with maintenance training for their vehicles? Because a lot of the vehicles we see, even vehicles, let's leave rickshaws aside, they're also very old, right? So is there a vehicle age that you guys prescribe? Is there a maintenance schedule or training so that the drivers are aware that, yes, if I'm putting this car on the road for 8 to 12 hours a day, the way I impact pollution can be minimized? You know, obviously it can't be brought to zero with an internal combustion engine, but
Yeah.
is that something that you guys have considered?
Yeah, that's quite interesting because, to be honest, drivers do not really care.
They
about
don't,
How
you're
much,
right.
Yeah, how much they.
They don't care if they're polluting. I don't think they're even aware of how much they're polluting.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't even think about that because they need to think how to feed their family.
Correct.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what we do, well, the first thing we do when we onboard the driver with his car, we look at the documents, at the age,
Right.
the production date, whatever. So many of them we just decline because it's not possible. We do not believe that it's going to add value to our users. So the driver is not accepted. That's the first thing where we have the filter. Yeah. The second one, once he comes up and we approve him, then we start onboarding him and giving some educational materials how to better operate with his vehicle. But again, it's very generic. Here, it should be more tactical thing. Yeah, we have offices. Drivers come to these offices. Our staff, they trained, they know what to tell the driver to how to better maintain, what to do with the vehicle, how to better provide the service to users. But again, we know that these guys coming to us, they need money, right? We cannot just say, oh, you have to pollute air less, so please, switch to electric one as soon as you can. For him, it's a matter of just how much money he's going to get from us tomorrow. So it's pretty hard discussion, to be honest. It should be, we invest into that as much as we can,
Right.
but in reality, it should be like an ecosystem when all the right ride-hailing companies cooperate with each other and share the information and educate drivers. Then the government comes in and also helps to educate. So it's a big story, and we as a market leader now, we have to take care of that. I understand that now probably we need to have some more I would say heavy programs, because now it's more about, okay, we tick the box that we do this, but in reality, looking at the air pollution outside, I understand that we have to do something very, very fast with that. So it's a good thing that you're bringing this up, and being here in the market, I understand how important it is. Sitting somewhere in Europe or in Turkey or in the US, you never know. Okay, you heard that Jakarta and Karachi are one of the most polluted cities.
But you saw it this morning.
Yeah. So what? Okay, polluted. That's fine. But when you get out of the hotel and you can hardly see the car coming to you, it's like, all right.
Yeah, the haze. I know what it is. The haze is unbelievable. And try going for a run in the morning. It's impossible.
It's impossible. So,
but we do. Yeah. We still do it.
Again, so I'm traveling quite a lot across the region now, and now I feel all the challenges and all the pains of people here. And to be honest, they're pretty much similar, depending, but pretty much people pretty much the same everywhere and have similar troubles. And climate change is one of the biggest.
True. What about your local competitors? I mean, you mentioned earlier that the others are focused on adding many, let's say, more features to their app. You've remained core to the mobility business, right? And you've focused on that. There's always a desire to add more, do more, give more, to just show investors and create more metrics and so on. Are you guys going to follow that path as well and become like a super app?
This is what we had in mind a couple of years ago, because everyone, every ride-hailing app globally was looking into the super app. And to be honest with you, if you look at them now, just few of them converted into super apps. The one is Grab in Southeast Asia, then the other Chinese guys, right? And then that's pretty much it.
Careem has done something.
Careem is going into that direction, and then Uber is also going into that direction, but again, limiting themselves to like super app in travel services, something like that. So I think, the concept of super app was in Europe and in the US, like kind of many years ago, but people still have the feeling that they need a choice. And super app are successful just in a few markets globally. In the other
places, what's the reason for that?
I think that's more as what we saw in different research is it's more about the mental thing, because once you have just one place where you buy everything, you just organically start to look for some alternative. You are not happy as a human being to have everything in one basket, and that's the reason why other brands starting to build some kind of umbrella brands, right? So you have, let's say, food delivery under pink, you have ride-hailing under green, and then you have finance under blue. In reality, it's one company, but there are 3 different apps, and people just mentally, psychologically, they are more happy with that, either than they just go into one rainbow app, and then they have everything into that. In China, that works good. I don't know, probably mentality is a bit different. In the other places, these companies, they still decided, those companies who wanted to go into super app, they decided to get into like specific areas. And the same for us. We did the research and we found out that people love us in many countries for the simplicity. I've been to many countries when some, a local guy came to me. I remember in Malaysia, he was kind of deputy prime minister. I think he came to me and he said, "Oh, my mom is using your app." I was like, "Oh, that's great." And you know why? Because that's easy. It's simple. She just opens the app, she clicks A, B, clicks order and gets the cab, instead of just going into the super app, going through the funnel, looking through banners, just browsing through the food tech, finance, whatever. And that was for me that was quite an eye opener. I was like, oh, how many people use us because of the simplicity? And then we found out that quite a lot. And that's the thing. So we are now focused on the mobility. So we have the ride-hailing as a core business, and then we have smaller ones, couriers, cargo, intercity and different models in ride hailing like auto rickshaw, bike, and others. So and then inside the ride hailing, we're also trying to implement some things like comfort class,
The
different features, segmentation of
Right.
mobility. Yeah, but going into the super app, to me personally, it looks like either the train has gone or it's not the right type of product, because it requires so much of investment into the technology and building this all together in one place,
Right.
and probably it doesn't worth it already, because it's been market's been captured by others.
One other question I wanted to ask you is you've entered the Pakistan market. How would you assess the human resource talent available here? Not the drivers, but for your business and your business operations.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. We touched at the beginning. Yeah, when I met yesterday a number of young guys at the conference, and they are so hungry about the development. They were asking for an advice where to go, where to get the knowledge, how to implement themselves into the global development or regional development. And well, my 2 points, first 2 points to them is like, you guys happy first because you all speak English,
Right.
and you have access to the knowledge which other guys do not have
In other markets.
in other
Really?
markets, right? Yeah, because again, if you go to, let's say, Indonesia, yeah, they all started to speak English now because of YouTube and others, yeah, but in reality, it's hard for them to get that knowledge. For you here in Pakistan, everyone speaks English. You can easily open any source of information and just quickly go through that. So
True.
that's a big advantage, to be honest. The other one is now everything is digital. If you want to, like yesterday, somebody came to me asking, what kind of digital marketing tools can I use for promoting of my product?
Right.
And I'm like, it's so easy. You just type this in Google or
Yeah.
YouTube, and you get hundreds million
Yeah,
answers to your
that's true.
question. Yeah, for free.
For
You
free.
know? And the other question was like, which kind of courses would you recommend me to go? I'm like, there are so many of them.
Ask
for free now.
ChatGPT.
Exactly. Ask ChatGPT, right? Yeah, and so that's the other advantage now everyone has.
So
Here.
English is the big plus for us.
It's huge. Yeah, it's
What about the rawness of our talent? Do you think they have well, you said they have the hunger and the drive, but do you think they have that persistence, which I see missing in let's say the younger generation? If the going gets tough, suddenly they're like, I'm going to give this up and I'm going to try something else. Versus I think the age group that you and I belong to, we've seen a slightly difficult period and you need to power through it. Is that a challenge for you?
That's a good question, because I was thinking about that last night when I couldn't
Right.
sleep. Yeah, because I was like, I saw so many young guys, and this is the next generation after
Yeah.
us, and they are different, like our parents different to
Yeah.
us, and they have different habits. They have different approach to the information. They have different tools like artificial intelligence, which
Right.
we didn't have. And I'm like, okay, I can blame them for being not persistent, but that's the new, like your parents blamed you for
Yeah.
being not doing
Yeah.
not doing something. And I was like, okay, so now it's a matter of let them be as who they are, but it's a matter how much of education they get from us and how much of knowledge we can deliver to them. And actually yesterday I even agreed to provide a number of kind of free courses to a number of people, just to tell my personal experience, how I see this now and how I saw that like 20 years ago when I started my career, and how can you guys implement my knowledge? Listen to me, because now you live in a totally different world, because at that time when I started, I had to learn how to work with Excel, how to quickly type things on the on the not even laptop, just PC. Now you don't have to do that, right? Excel is going to be run by artificial intelligence,
True.
right? And then you just talk and the text appears in front of you, but then what's your impact as a human being? Then you start being more creative, more empathical, and things like that. And for me, I think now it's very important how you and me deliver this knowledge to them, so they can listen to us, put this on the reality, and then convert into the difference. So Pakistan's potential is huge because you see
Right.
so many young guys outside. Obviously, education of kids now here is a very, very big thing you have to focus on. I heard yesterday on a conference that about 40% of local kids are suffering of having no food. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a big trouble. Of course, it's hard to talk about education when you have no food on the table, right?
Right.
But still, if parents have a chance to somehow try to grow this culture a bit, then the country gonna succeed, and then government should do a lot about that as well.
But that is a big challenge for us because I don't think we have the right teachers. I don't think we have the academic system. And to your point about creativity, I completely agree with you. I think the future of knowledge is about being creative because AI tools, databases, everything will house the knowledge. So I no longer need to retain knowledge. Retention is not my core skill, which was the training that we used to get when we were in school. It was all about rote memorization and retention. We don't need retention. All of that is here. It is how we access and apply that information. I think education needs to take a much more creative approach. So the most creative thinkers are the ones who will be able to use AI tools the best in ways that others can't.
Right.
Right? And then when the output they get from that will be so unique that they will be the ones that will probably be more valued in the market.
I do absolutely agree with you here.
Yeah.
My thinking is that AI is gonna be, well, there are now people are like two types of them, right? Some of them say that AI is not gonna do anything; it's just a calculator, but in a best form, right? But others think that AI is even better, is a bigger threat than nuclear weapon or something.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that AI is gonna become just a part of the life of everyone. Like 200 years ago, literacy. Remember, there was just one guy in a town who could read, and then others were around him listening to him. One guy reading, that's fine. Nobody was thinking how literacy is important. Now you cannot even imagine yourself without.
True.
Yeah. The same with AI. I'm sure that AI is just going to be inside your house, like a homemate, living together with you. You're going to speak with him every single day. Good morning. Can you help with this? Can you help with that? You're gonna have empathy to him, and you're gonna just
You say this. I literally last night, true story. I was on TV and my daughter was sitting next to me, and I don't know what happened. I ended up going to my app store, and I'd bought an episode of The Knight Rider, I think about 10, 12 years ago. And I put it on for my daughter. She's 11, and I said, "Watch this show. This is from the 80s. This this is why I love cars." And I put on The Knight Rider, and Kit is talking to Michael Knight, David Hasselhoff, and he's on the phone and he's giving instruction, and she's like, "Yeah, what are you showing me?" She's like, "You've got an Apple Watch." She's like, "Alexa talks to me. What do you?" I said all of this at that time was unheard of.
Exactly.
She's like, "Yeah, but I can't even imagine. Like, Alexa's in the car, you've seen the Tesla." So we took a Tesla. She's like, "You made the Tesla move back and forth with the remote thing." She's like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
So what we saw growing up in the 80s is real today.
Yeah, exactly.
And so what you're saying now, AI being a part of our life, I think it already is.
Yeah, it's already there, and we probably do not recognize that, but it's gonna be even deeper. And now it's easy because even here in Pakistan, you live in let's say in a small town, you still have internet connection. Yeah. You have mobile phone, which is probably the old one, but you have access to some website. Just start learning how to talk, how to deal with AI. In 5 years, you're gonna monetize that.
Yeah,
for sure. That's my
true.
advice to all the young guys. Like they're asking, should I go to the US or I cannot go to the US? That's why I'm not successful. You don't have to go to the US now.
No,
or
just
to
go to
Australia.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, exactly. Go ChatGPT and start learning how to talk to it. You have to be creative to put the right task and to control how he makes it. Because still we have to remember that AI and computer, it's one thing. Human being, it's the other thing. Who feels, who can judge, who can love, who can, all the things which AI probably in the near or somehow reasonable future wouldn't be able to do.
True.
It's still a machine, right?
Yeah.
So just use your human feelings, human advantages, and try to put them against the AI.
True.
And deal with that.
I want to switch gears, and I want to ask you something about your childhood. You grew up in Moscow, and we talked about this a little earlier, and you saw the breakup of Russia. And you mentioned how you were at that age group, you probably have the right balance between communism and capitalism in your thinking. So walk me through what it was like growing up in Russia at that time. And I'm really interested in it because I just told you I finished a book about that period when Russian companies were being privatized. I mentioned this also in my previous show. And I'm seeing that in Pakistan. So I'm curious, when Russia went through its breakup, what was it like growing up as a child? And what were the values instilled in you in a communist moving towards capitalist Russia?
Right. Yeah. It's important to mention here that that was Soviet Union breakup.
Soviet Union,
Yeah,
sorry.
because
Soviet
Russia
Union
breakup
break.
is something like many people expect now, to be honest, but it hasn't happened
The
yet.
Soviet Union breakup into Russia. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the future right now.
Yeah, the future is quite questionable, but still, yeah. For the Soviet Union at that time, that for me that was a fantastic period. I'm so happy that I was born exactly at that time because I was able to touch the Soviet time, and my teachers were from the Soviet time, and there was a lot of good things there. Yeah, many people still blame the Soviet Union for being like a Red Empire, Evil Empire, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were certain challenges, economical, social, but some of the things, related to how the society was organized, yeah, how the people were treated. Everyone was feeling pretty safe. Everyone was feeling very assured about the future. That was like in my school, so I could feel from my teachers that stability. People somehow felt the stability. Even the economy
In the Soviet Union.
yeah, even the Soviet Union itself was not a stable creature. Yeah, it was.
But that
not
was
a-
never the perception given by media. It was always projected that, it is not as stable. Internally, you felt stable and comfortable.
Internally, everyone was sure what's going to happen to him in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. When you were, specifically at the time, like when you were born, like 50s, 60s, after the Second World War. Yeah,
Right.
everyone, when you were born, you knew already that you're gonna go to school, you're gonna get the education, you're gonna have the medicine, you're gonna have this small house or a condo or whatever. So everyone was pretty much sure about the future, and that was, for many people, that was such a disaster that Soviet Union has broken. That was just a huge one, specifically for those who were like close to 50 at that time. For me as a kid, that was a time, and for my parents as well, that was a time of the opportunity, because they were tired of that Soviet system, when everything, they wanted to travel, they wanted to see the world, and at that time deficit was pretty bad because the economic system was not good enough at that time already, and the oil price was very low at that time, by the way, so the country was not doing well. For my parents and for myself, that was the time when we started to travel outside. We could go to some Eastern European countries, we could go. My first visit was to Finland, and I saw the supermarket. I saw how the Western world lives, and for me that was like a big
So you
impression.
guys didn't have supermarkets in Soviet.
didn't. No,
What?
we
So
didn't.
how did you guys get your food?
Well, there was a
There was a
grocery
market,
store.
yeah.
There was a market, the grocery store. You had to stay in a queue. You had to wait for that, and you could stay like 30 minutes or even half a day. And then
Did you have brands, like global brands there?
I think Pepsi was the only brand there.
Pepsi was the only brand?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, like, what was when you would buy groceries, like, it was all local branded?
All local branded, yeah. Soviet economy was pretty good in that perspective. So
Right.
everything was local. Even if they buy something from outside, they still brand it under the local brand. And then, well, yeah, we were pretty much happy with that
Right.
at that
And
time.
you had your local branded cars as well?
Yeah, all the local cars, everything foreign was very like adored, and we loved it. But we didn't have access to that. If somebody came from the U.S. with a chewing gum in the
Yeah.
pocket, that was like, wow, can we try? And the whole class room was
Really?
trying the same piece
Yeah.
of chewing gum, chewing it all together. That was pretty funny. Yeah, but yeah, that was the end of the Soviet time. That was but everyone was expecting that. Okay, now the borders are open. We can travel. A lot of brands started to come in. That was such a hectic in the country, just
Yeah.
crazy hectic. But everyone was very excited. That's the time of change has come. And after that, I would say that was the best time in my life when I was a student at the university, 2000 till 2015, like 15 years. I think that those were the best times in Russia. In
So
the
when the
past.
market was opening up,
Everything was opening. Again, the fuel price was high,
yeah,
and you know, everyone was happy. People started to travel. Everyone
right,
could afford car, a new apartment. You know, salaries
yeah,
were growing, so everyone was very happy. And then, you know, we
yeah,
started to face certain political things. The first one was Crimea
yeah.
in Ukraine, and then all the things after that. And now we are where we are.
What, so tell me about how the communist mindset is different from the capitalist mindset in your experience, because you've seen and lived with both.
Yeah, a communist mindset in theory, it's an interesting concept. I would recommend everyone to read through that, and yeah, it's a concept. But in reality, the communist is about the bureaucracy. Is about if you you are the owner of everything, that means you are the owner of nothing. That means you don't care about anything. That's the thing. So there is no ownership, there is no responsibility. That's the thing. And if it leads to corruption, to bribery. Once you get the appointment at some government store, government factory, plant, whatever, first thing you start to do, you start taking everything out of there, because you understand that this is not yours. This is just for a certain period of time, and that's you know, that's a blessing that somebody put you on this position. So it's more about you know, for me, to be honest, we know that, you know, the democracy, the Western world, capitalism, it's not perfect. There are certain challenges behind, and many people are not happy with that. But you know, these countries who follow that are the most successful.
Right.
And for me, why is it successful? Because you own your space, no matter what is it social or business or whatever. You develop it, you're responsible for that. If you develop it in the right way, then you get the return, your kids successful, you can, you know, provide yourself with a good medicine, education, whatever. So that's ownership, responsibility. In the Soviet culture, it does not exist. It's
There
like,
is no ownership.
yeah, you are just part of the society. Everyone is equal. That's the worst thing.
But you mentioned that if you are given a position, you want to extract as much as you can from that
Of course,
position.
because you know that next year somebody else going to be there, and it's not. It does not depend if you are smart, if you do well on that position. No, it's just because everyone is equal, and today it's you, tomorrow it's him.
But
Yeah.
doesn't that create like a disbalance in a way that, you know, for that period of time, you have unequal amounts of, let's say, power to extract more for yourself, and then that's gone. And so it's that period of time that you make all your money. So how is it fair then?
That's you know, that's a bit when all those rules are impacted, then applied, then a person has no ability to grow. Instead of just trying to bribe somebody or
Right.
become a friend of somebody,
Right.
and nobody is valued as you know, valued by his
As an individual.
as an individual.
Which
That's
is
the
what
thing.
is the case in capitalism.
Yeah, being an individual is bad in the communist society. That's the worst thing. That's what I didn't like, because if you are a bit more creative, if you are
Yeah.
a bit more how to say that, more like businessman,
Yeah.
you would be aside of that, because
Yeah.
this society does not accept that. They don't want it to happen.
So they want everyone to be the same,
Yeah.
uniform, everyone's provided the
Exactly.
same education, food, support. So you live like a society, but you don't live like an individual.
Yeah, that's the worst thing of that. And then it's controlled centrally.
Yes.
You know, that's the thing. And for me, I do not believe in centralized systems anymore. As we started to say
Right.
about globalization at the beginning, right?
Right.
Now it should be, even in IT,
Yeah.
decentralization, multi-services,
Yep.
microservices. So that's what we are getting into. I strongly believe into the future of micro communities as well, because now all these Facebook, everything is huge, right?
Right.
And people, they do not even trust if they're like a member of the group where 1 million people sitting there. Somebody posts something, you don't trust that, but
Yeah.
you trust the group where like 30 people or 300 people
Yeah.
of your neighbors, right? And you trust them. So I believe into these micro things, which gonna now they arise everywhere, and even on a global level. You see that now here we have Middle Eastern led by, let's say, Saudi Arabia and UAE.
Right.
We have Asia led by China. You know, around Cambodia, Laos, it's all, you know,
Right.
led by Chinese. We have Europe and the US kind of coming together. Yeah, so it's going to be again decentralized. So I believe that the world's going to go into that perspective, and then the success going to be with those who know how to be good in his micro community and how to negotiate with the
Other
other
micro
community.
communities.
Yeah, that's the
Interesting.
thing.
Would you ever see, and I'm going to take a leap of faith with this one, geography today, to move from one place to another requires physical movement, and it requires a form of a permit, like a passport, right? So you're identified as an individual based on the land that you're born in, right? And then you're given a document, and that document allows you to move around to other lands, so to speak. Is there a future where your identification is purely digital and it is irrelevant which physical place you're born in, and using that digital identity, you can move around wherever you want to go from one community to another community? Do you see that as something that might happen in our lifetime?
Yeah, that's a very difficult and interesting question. I'm sure that a physical presence does not really make a big difference to. Well, it still makes, but it's not gonna decide on how your future is gonna develop, because now it's everything in digital. Even in inDrive, we have almost 3,000 guys working for us, and all of them are everywhere in the world. Sometimes I don't even know where my colleague is, and I ask them to put in the location in the calendar, so at least I know which time zone the
Right.
guy is now, right? So for me, I think that the physical borders gonna disappear at some point, and the matters, your identity is gonna be which digital community you you being like
Associated with or
associated,
engaged
yeah,
with, yeah.
engaged with, yeah. Again, it comes to the question of separation of the internet potentially, because now you see that there are so many sanctions in different countries trying to control different traffic. I'm traveling a lot, and I'm so scared when I let's say coming to Turkey, I cannot use Wikipedia; it's blocked there. I get into the other country, I cannot use let's say PayPal because it's
Right.
blocked there, or any other, you know, Instagram blocked in Russia, Facebook blocked
Right.
there. So it's all blocked everywhere. And for me, it's like a sign that at some point there's going to be a regional internet which is going to communicate between each other, but still to certain level, you know. So
Interesting.
you get into the internet of Asia, let's say, controlled by China, probably, right?
Right.
And you have access to the local resources. Then you enter the European one, you don't have access to certain things. And then I'm sure that media guys going to happy about that, because some of them going to do their propaganda in one area,
Right.
the others going to do in the
Yeah.
other area. So that's the thing. And then, yeah, you're going to be kind of engaged or attributed to certain community, digital community, no matter where are you at the moment, in Saudi Arabia, in, you know, Lima, or
Right.
in the US, you are the Chinese, let's say, yeah, you are Asian, you are
Right.
digitally Asian, and you have access to all these digital sources which are given by the Asian community, no matter where physically
You're
are.
located, yeah.
Yeah, that's I think gonna be the future of how we're gonna be sitting in the same let's say Starbucks, in the same coffee shop, right?
Yeah.
But we all gonna be from different places. So physical presence and digital presence gonna be totally different.
So it's no longer about your physical attributes, it's about your digital attributes and what kind of communities and what kind of tools and what kind of
Right.
access you have that you're either born with or brought into, depending on sort of how it progresses.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking, and it's moving into that direction pretty fast. So when I'm hearing from the young guys that, oh, my future is gonna depend if I would be successfully moving to Australia or to the US, I'm now planning to apply for the UK visa.
Right.
No way. If you go there and
Yeah.
you stay there, probably they just use you as a cleaner or
Yeah.
something. Just stay in your your place.
Yeah.
Just you have access to everything now.
Yeah.
Just learn, study, talk, build a network. By the way, I have never met many of my colleagues or even some friends already whom I'm speaking, to on the screen for many years, but I never met them personally, and they are my friends, right? So just build this type of community around you. It's gonna be all digital, and then at some point you're gonna grow up to a certain level when you just earn money. You are, let's say, employed.
Right.
You are, you feel yourself that you need it, and you are not sitting in the developed place like London or New York or Melbourne.
Right.
So my position here totally changed. When I was a young guy, that was a matter of success. If you travel outside of Russia to the US, you are the successful one. Yeah, you are the one who made it.
But that doesn't apply anymore.
No.
But in this model, what is the language of communication? Does it still remain English, or does it become regionalized?
I think English still gonna dominate. Why? Because still India and Pakistan, two biggest, totally about 2 billion people.
Yeah.
Nepali, Sri Lanka, others, English, right? China question, yeah, but still many of them, I meet quite a lot of Chinese guys, they speak English very well. English is not just because it used to be like a colonial language, right? It's easy language. It's easy to learn English comparing to many other languages. So I think that English still gonna be the predominant. Regionalization, it would be pretty hard, because I think, having the local language as a regional kind of language, it would be hard, because still you cannot exchange the information. You still need to exchange the knowledge, the technology in between those regional places, right? And you should have one language which, it's not Arabic, too difficult.
So I would say my reasoning for English is because I think it's a terrible language. It's structure-wise, grammatically, like I think Arabic or Urdu is much better languages. They have much more detail in terms of expression. They have words for all relationships, just simple things like that. English doesn't, and English just is a little messy. But all future development of technology happens in English. It doesn't happen in any other language. Yeah. AI started I'm sure it'll move to the other languages, but it'll be the most advanced in English. Coding takes place in numbers and in English, right? So if English is the foundation of the internet, and if the future of society is dependent on digital connectivity, therefore English will be the dominant language. And so that should be the language that we are trained to think in.
Right, I agree with you. I wouldn't challenge that, because I think that this is still going with English, and let it go with English. Yeah. So I see that all the young guys are trying to study English somehow. And again, I just repeated that you guys here are having an advantage. Yeah,
absolutely.
You already know this from from the beginning. That's important.
Roman, this was amazing. Thank you so much for the time. I've had a really interesting discussion with you. I think we covered practically everything we could think of. And I wish you success in your travels to Pakistan. I look forward to hosting you again when you're here next. And I wish that inDrive continues to be the success that it is, and employs a lot of Pakistanis here, and creates a lot of education around mobility.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Pakistan is a great place to be. I hope I'm gonna come here more and more often.
We look forward to having you. Thank you. And thank you all for tuning in. Stay tuned to more episodes of DigiTales. Like, subscribe, and comment. I read as many comments as I can. I respond to them. So whatever you tell me, whatever feedback you give me, we try to incorporate it into the show. So definitely leave some comments behind, and see you next week. Bye-bye.